We heard earlier about Southern Cross Media warning, while September's been seen challenging advertising markets improve, they do remain short and impacted by current economic uncertainty. Well, Standard Media Index, or SMI, aggregates media agency advertising spending, so as the pulse of the market and the outlook. And joining us is Jane Schultz, Managing Director of SMI Australia New Zealand. Jane, always great to see you.
Hi, Roddy.
Just in terms of the business, firstly, because you've actually been expanding into new categories. Just give us a refresher about what SMI does and what you have just done in terms of the expansion.
Sure, yeah. As you said, we're the benchmark for advertising spend in Australia. We take the bookings data directly from the media agency's booking system, so exactly what they've spent on each media is what we collect, and it's released on the 15th of each month, so it's the most timely data available, and it's actual data, which is really hard to come by. You know, in a lot of industries there's estimates of what's going on, but we actually know exactly within the media agency world where the money's going. And this year we've had the most product development we've ever had in our last 5 years, so we've provided much more data, and in particular in the last month we've got 5 new retail categories. So retail has always been within media the largest part of the advertising sector. It was about 25% of all ad spend, but we can now break that down into 5 separate retail categories, so we can see restaurants or fast food outlets spend for the first time, we can see home furnishing, appliance spend for the first time, general retail spend, food alcoholic retail spend, for example, so much more detailed and more insights for all our subscribers, which is great.
Invaluable data if you're selling ads, right? So tell me now, you've been reporting on or measuring the media sector for a long time.
Yes.
How challenging a year was 2014?
Yeah, it's not great. It's not a great year. Look, there's been low, if any, growth in the market this year. But the good news is we think we've seen the end of the worst of it. September was a record September. So the SMI data goes back to 2007. So for all of those 7 years, the September we've just reported, September 2014, was the highest ever. And we had record figures, September figures for TV, radio, outdoor and digital. So there were a lot of big issues that made 2013 a difficult comparative period, in particular the federal election really killed us, because we've just seen for the last quarter, just for example, our government category, total spend is down 70 million. So it just goes to show, like, that's a huge amount of money to be able to get back. And if you only have a federal election every 4 years or so, and so it has a massive impact on the advertising market in Australia. And it's no wonder really that from June, July, when government ad spend started to ramp up last year, in 2014 we've seen a large decrease in spend.
Just, I guess something we talk a lot about is digital. What's your thinking and what you're seeing? Is digital going to continue to take market share of revenue from other sectors?
Look, it's continuing to grow, obviously, and it's growing in different areas. It used to be that content sites and ad networks used to be the growth areas. Content sites can still generally do very well, but the rise of programmatic has seen a lot of the money come out of networks, ad networks, and out of the content sites and go onto the exchanges. So that's been a big change. But there's always something. There's another killer app or a new invention in digital that continues to drive it. The next thing I think is really online video. We're really starting to see strong growth in online video now. So digital is a really interesting media because it's so innovative, and there's nothing to really hold it back. Someone can just come up with another thing and everyone likes it, and then advertising dollars always follows eyeballs, and so off we go again.
You suggested we might have turned a bit of a corner with that September data. Is it possible to give a sector-wide outlook, and you got any feel for what might happen next year?
The next year? I'm hoping for better times next year. I really think that there is some positive growth amongst some of the advertising categories, which is really good. I think within press we've possibly seen the bottom, potentially, like it's a big call, but in September newspaper bookings were only down 6.5%, which is really good. For industry facing structural headwinds like they are, for that to come out at only a 6% decline is really good. And more importantly, we could see within the categories, because we can now break down our category data by metro press, regional press, community press, etc. There's some really strong growth within metro press within some of the categories, and in community press, for example. It's really interesting. don't give up on newspapers is what I say. I know there's a lot of negativity around it, but there are categories that need newspapers because it's, you know, all the T's and C's and information like that can really only be delivered effectively by newspapers, and it's still a great branding mechanism because it's still got huge readership.
Jane, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Okay. Jane Schultz there from SMI, Australia and New Zealand. Coming up on Mediaweek, all the latest TV ratings with James Manning.